The NFL is never without its drama. We've got an action-packed show for you today. So much breaking news, so much injury news, unfortunately. And of course, the top 10 list, which you're going to be surprised this week. You're going to be very, very surprised this week. That is all coming up for you right here on the NFL show. Welcome back. Welcome back for yet another week, another action-packed episode of Hot Sports NFL show. Of course, we have got for you a list. We have a list for you. Because of the results, some of the shocking results around the NFL this week. The list took a bit of a facelift this week. With a bit of a twist, because that twist coming up is that there is no off the list. Nobody came off the list. The 10 from last week all remained. However, there was a massive reshuffle, and I'm so excited later on to reveal that onto you. But before we get into everything, make sure you are hitting the like button. Make sure the likes help the visibility, the algorithm for YouTube for my videos. It does me a massive help, and it doesn't cost you any money whatsoever. So make sure you are liking the video. Make sure you are subscribing. We are on the road still to our 500 sub goal, moving ever so slowly along to our first goal of 500 subs. So again, if you have not yet subbed and you are now watching this video and you are interested in the content that we are sharing with you, and if you're watching this video, which I put my heart and soul, all my energy into, surely, I'm going to have convinced you to subscribe. So please hit the sub on this video. And here we go, NFL show. After week 8 in the NFL, right, we're almost halfway through the year. Next week is the halfway mark of the NFL season. And we've got some breaking news. And of course, the trade deadline, I believe, closes on January the 5th. So we are just under 1 week away from the trade deadline closing. And more wide receivers. Breaking news. More wide receivers changing teams. And this time, after the Kansas City Chiefs last week added DeAndre Hopkins, the Baltimore Ravens have responded in kind. They have traded, what do I see here? A 5th rounder to the Carolina Panthers for Deontay Johnson and a 6. So Deontay Johnson, the former Steelers wide receiver who of course was traded to Carolina this summer, has now been traded back into the AFC North to play for their division rivals. The main competitors really for the division now, the Baltimore Ravens. So Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, after the disappointment yesterday or Sunday against the Browns, are looking to add more weapons to that offense. So now when you think about it, Zay Flowers, Deontay Johnson in there, got Nelson Aguilar, Rashad Bateman. But you know what? I think honestly, Deontay Johnson is a massively great compliment to Zay Flowers. Of course, they had OBJ last year, and OBJ is now gone. He's in Cincinnati. Wait a second. My headphones are just pulling them out. So yeah, the Baltimore Ravens have now traded for Deontay Johnson. That's a massive, massive, massive pickup for them. Moving on though, the Kansas City Chiefs again. They made moves last week, as we just mentioned, and they've now made moves again. They're really going for that three-peat. And of course, the only undefeated team in the NFL, they are buyers again, and they have traded to the Patriots a 2026 sixth-round pick for outside linebacker, pass rusher Josh Uche, added to that Chiefs team. So look, they have been active. They have definitely been active. The Chiefs and the defending champions are looking to remain that way. Really pushing for historical three-peat. And now this is sort of news in reverse because we're gonna talk about this later on. So maybe I'll keep the names quiet. Although you probably all know, loyal NFL fans. But breaking news: the Jacksonville Jaguars have traded left tackle Cam Robinson to the Minnesota Vikings for a fifth that can become a fourth. The Vikings may also receive a potential seventh rounder. But if they reach certain performance level, clauses, that maybe the seventh rounder can stay in Jacksonville. But yeah, we will mention why later on, not in a few minutes from now, why they made this trade. But they did desperately need help here. They're at left tackle. And finally, for the breaking news segment of the show, and this is an interesting one. This is very... And I don't want to talk about this much because I don't know enough about it, like in terms of never played in the NFL. I've never played quarterback before, so I'm not going to comment. But Anthony Richardson called for himself to be subbed out of the game for a play. He took a breather. He said he was too tired. He said it in the post conference. He took himself out of the game for a play. And obviously that didn't sit well, maybe probably with his teammates, probably with the Colts, definitely not with the media. And now it's been announced that the Colts have benched Anthony Richardson, who was a top 5 pick from last year, their franchise quarterback potentially, for Joe Flacco. Now, the good news for Anthony Richardson is I don't believe this is something that... Somebody said this was a massive decision. I think this is a message being sent to a young quarterback who needs to learn. This is not... A lot of people thought, I think this is the beginning of the end for Anthony Richardson's career. Look, Joe Flacco is very, very old news. Joe Flacco is not going to be the franchise QB for the Colts, okay? He's had that chance, and he has, been and gone. So Anthony Richardson, I think this is more of a message being sent to discipline the young QB. Because, look, it's true. You take yourself out of a ball game. How are you supposed to tell your teammates especially your O-linemen who work their ass to protect your guy for 16 minutes of football? They never get subbed out of the game. How could you sub yourself out of the game, and then later on you'd be like, hey guys, I need you guys just to keep your energy, guys. Here, let's push it last minute. Let's get the win here. Like the messaging that comes from your quarterback does get diminished here somehow. And I think maybe it's the message that's being sent to Anthony Richardson. I think what's going to result of this, if it hasn't already, is an apology to his teammates from Anthony Richardson, because he didn't seem very apologetic in his press conference when asked about it. He made it seem like it's not a big deal, I just, needed to catch my breath, or I took myself out for a play. It's not good leadership. It's not for good leadership for a quarterback. Look, and again, I don't want to speak too much on the topic because I have never played quarterback in the National Football League. I've never played in the National Football League. And I myself probably am nowhere near the fitness of an Anthony Richardson, so I'm not going to comment too far about that. But the bottom line here is that Anthony Richardson now has been benched for the next game. Joe Flacco will start for the Colts against the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday. Now, to the injury part of the show, the injury segment. And I hate this. I actually hate this segment. But we must do it. We must do it to keep our viewers informed, so we understand just the context of the season. And this is a big one. This is a huge one. Stefon Diggs, obviously brought in by the Texans in the summer to be the number one star receiver for CJ Stroud. And look, the Texans have been rolling. Obviously, Diggs, he obviously got Joe Mixon, who's also played really well. Another 100-yard game for him, but we'll talk about that later on. But it's an ACL injury. Stefon Diggs will be missing for the rest of the year, and that's going to really impact the Houston Texans. I just got to say, because the Texans were struggling along the O-line, and we'll talk about more when we get into our lists. But yeah, look, the Texans have started out the season really, really well. You'll see where I have them ranked. But again, let's see how this progresses, like in terms of how it impacts their season throughout the year. Yeah, look, we talked about it a couple weeks ago with Aiden Hutchinson. And then since the Lions have only seemed to have gotten better since Aiden Hutchinson's gone down. So we will have to go ahead and see how this affects their arm. So I'm not going to make any sort of proclamations about what this does to the Texans season, but it's a blow. It's definitely a blow. Another wide receiver who is now going to be gone for the year, and this is interesting enough, he was on the trade block. Christian Kirk broke his collarbone. He is now out for the season for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, the Jaguars have brought in Velus Jones Jr., used to be from the Bears, off the street now. And again, they also have the rookie receiver, what's his name again? Thomas? He's also going to be gone for a few weeks. So the Jaguars, yeah. Look, again, I had them. I knew they'd start slow to the season. I haven't foreseen the way that's progressed after they've had those 2 wins and stuff now to this point. And clearly, I think this is a bit of an overreaction from a Jaguars team that's built up with Trevor Lawrence to, get rid of your starting left tackle, to think about getting rid of your wide receiver. Maybe this is something that saves them from making a decision like trading Christian Kirk for the future. But for now, he's gonna be missing for the rest of the year. And yeah, the Jaguars are in big trouble. And now, speaking of which, that trade, Christian Darrisaw on Thursday Night Football did have a season-ending knee injury, which, again, the Vikings, after their impressive 5-0 start, have now dropped 2 in a row, and we'll cover that later on in this show. But again, that's why they went in. They got Cam Robinson now for the Vikings, and so Christian Darrisaw now out for the season for the Vikings, and that has been our injury news. Now let's get into, before we discuss some of the extra results that aren't discussed on the list today, Anton's picks, guys. Let's do Anton's picks. And Anton, look, I kind of forfeited one of them because I kind of want to put myself in a position where I could be right either way. And then, of course, as I picked against the Eagles, so either I was going to get a pick right or either the Eagles were going to win, so I was going to be happy either way. But yeah, I went 10-6 overall, which is a pretty, I think I rebounded well because the early games were a bit chaotic for me. I mean, you had the Ravens game. That was crazy. I picked the Bears. That Hail Mary, that hurt. What else did I get wrong? I got the Dolphins wrong. I got the Jets wrong. I got the 49ers and the Cowboys. That game I picked incorrectly. Yeah, so wait, is that... Yeah, Browns 1. We got Cardinals 2. Patriots 3, Commanders 4, 49ers 5. What was the 6th one that I got wrong? On here, it was it 5? Did I get only 5 wrong? Oh no, the Eagles. Sorry. Yeah, the Eagles game. So yeah, 10-6. Look, we're still doing well. I think still double-digit wins is always a good week for picking, and we've had a run now of double-digit wins. So I'm really, really happy with that. Overall, I'm doing much better with the NFL picks than my Premier League picks. Let me tell you that. Now, let's quickly cover some of the results in the league. Now, if you guys have followed me, again, this is a good reminder. Follow me on the socials, on Instagram and on TikTok. We've got our Reels. Our Reels really keep this going, like on the daily basis. We have Reels almost every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. The Reels go up a lot more often than the YouTube vids, just because it's only a few minutes video, and it's easier to do that constantly than every single day with my schedule to be making YouTube videos every day. But of course, we're piling up now. We're doing 3 videos a week, which is an improvement here on the channel. But yeah, let's go through some of these. As I said, we mentioned some of these in our Reels, so let's go. And we mentioned some of these just now in the results. And then it starts off with the Arizona Cardinals. They've got an impressive start to the season. Now they are now 4-4. Now they are first place in the NFC West, and that is after beating the Chargers on a last-minute field goal, beating the Dolphins on a last-minute field goal. Tua came back for the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins looked a lot better on the offensive side of the ball, but take nothing away from the Cardinals, man. This has got nothing to do. This time, a lot of the time, I felt the Dolphins' losses were due to the fact that they were hamstrung with injuries. This time around, I think the Cardinals are really starting to evolve as a team under Jonathan Gannon, and you got to shout out. There's some players, some teams that are not in this top 10 list who have had really impressive seasons, who could maybe appear later on if they keep this stuff going on. Another one of those teams is the Denver Broncos. Again, now they are 5-3 on the year. Bo Nix, another 3-touchdown game, almost threw for 300 yards. And yeah, again, the punching bag of the NFL, the Carolina Panthers, there's a perfect, they just went up over 500 at 4-3 after beating in New Orleans, and then they got the perfect opportunity to go 2 games up over 500, and they beat up on the Panthers. And the Broncos, again, I'm thoroughly wrong on the Denver Broncos this season, definitely, and I admit to that, and it keeps looking worse. In terms of for me, but I don't care. Like, I'm a neutral for most teams other than the Eagles. I'm happy to be wrong. I'm happy to be proven wrong. The New York Jets again. Week 2 with Davante Adams, and the Jets again just not looking impressive. I mean, I said in my picks, I don't want to be picking the Jets, but they're playing the Patriots, and the Patriots are bad, so I just got to do it. And the Patriots last minute winner, Ramondre Stevenson, with 25 seconds on the clock, gave Aaron Rodgers barely no time to try to take them down to the field for a field goal. They didn't do that. Time ran out on the Jets, and the Patriots win. Wow, huge win. Of course, they avenged that Thursday night loss from earlier on in the season. Now, we mentioned last week. The Buccaneers and their injuries to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and I picked against the Falcons for this one. Actually, originally I would have, if healthy, picked the Bucs. And look, the Buccaneers still fought valiantly. They did make a late push in this game, but the Atlanta Falcons, Kirk Cousins, 4 touchdowns. And yeah, they move on 4-0 in the division now for the Atlanta Falcons. The Chargers bounce back after that Monday night loss. And McConkey, who was shut out last week, had an amazing game. 111 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns for the lad. The New Orleans Saints are looking bad. Now, the good news for the Saints is that apparently Derek Carr is returning back to practice this week. So, look, I think time has run out, I think, now for what's his name? Spencer Rattler. Every show I forget Spencer Rattler's name. My God. Man. But he must not be very memorable, I guess, because, and I think, yeah, the Saints have not played well with Spencer Rattler at quarterback, and the season has fallen away. Well, they started out 2-0, now they are 2-6, 6-game losing streak now, which started, by the way, with the hands of the Eagles. But yeah, the Chargers absolutely bounced back. Big win, huge win. And so finally, Sunday Night Football. The Dallas Cowboys are looking poor. I picked the Cowboys for this game. Maybe I was riding on the Brock Purdy, on my Brock Purdy hate train. Which, by the way, we had an interesting conversation on Jacob Sports post-game with my man Xander Krause about Brock Purdy. If you guys go check him out, check out Jacob Sports. They are good friends of mine. They give me good airtime, good exposure, and I'm very, very thankful to them. But we had a good talk about Brock Purdy. And then later on that day, Brock Purdy went ahead. The Niners looked good. They went on a roll for sure in the second half. They looked very good. But again, they have this terrible habit of allowing teams back in the game. And the Cowboys, what looked like a late flurry, Cowboys got the ball back with a few minutes to go, only down less than a touchdown. The Cowboys did not manage to get there, and yeah, Dak's been still turning the ball over a lot. And this time the 49ers get a much needed win to keep their season on track now. Hopefully with their injuries, with some of these players to come back. Obviously they're not going to get back Brandon Ayuk. Debo did play in this game. Hopefully for them, they get Christian McCaffrey back. But yeah, they hold on and they beat the Cowboys. And so that is kind of our look around the league here. And there is no off the list this week. There is none. So we are going to get straight into it. Guys, the top 10 list, you guys all know all the 10 teams on the list. There are no surprises in terms of additions to the list, as we just mentioned, because the off the list is no longer for this week. At least he's on suspension. Let's see if it happens, if we can get one back next week. But I am very excited, guys. Get ready. I'm going to shock you with the list that I put together, with what my numbers and algorithms threw up for this week. Guys, without further ado, please cue the NFL music. This is my top 10 list. At number 10, moving 6 spots down from number 4, my Super Bowl favorites, the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, I know, mic drop, right? Look, after losing to the Cleveland Browns the way they did, and of course a lot of the results going on, the Baltimore Ravens, I expect them to go back up the list again, but they've been climbing the list ever so slightly. They got themselves into the top 4 for the first time last year. They got themselves on my thumbnail last week, and now they went ahead, last minute loss to the Browns. James Winston, he wasn't played for over a year, really. The Browns team has been really, really bad. They lose to them? I guess it's the division. You throw the records out, but man, I was talking up the Ravens so highly, and then they go ahead and they do that. And they have now fallen to number 10 on the list. At number 9, also falling 6 spots. And they've been sitting at the top of the rankings around right about that for weeks and weeks on end. And that is the Minnesota Vikings. 2 losses in a row. I said it on my picks. I said they lose to the Rams on Thursday night. And they did. Now Christian Darrisaw now out for the season. That's not something that's funny. But look, the Vikings coming back to earth, man. They lose to the Lions, that's one thing. Losing to the Rams, a team that's been struggling the whole year now, of course, the timing couldn't have been worse for them. They ran into the Rams. Worse as they got Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp back. I think it was just a perfect storm for the Rams. I said that in my picks. But now, the Minnesota Vikings are starting to become a little bit more realistic of what they actually are. Now, Are they going to be a bad team? Are they going to be that 5-0 team? I reckon they're going to be somewhere in the middle. But at the moment, 5-2 is still through 7 games. You ask a Vikings fan if they would take 5-2 through 7 games, I reckon they would bite your hand off for it at the start of the season. At number 8, moving 2 spots up for number 10, I'm glad to report the Philadelphia Eagles, and that's after an incredible performance against the Cincinnati Bengals. Jalen Hurts' best game of the season. 4 touchdowns overall, 3 rushing touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown. That passing touchdown, by the way, was an absolute peach. 45 yards or so through the air, right into the hands of Devontae Smith. Man, the Eagles' young guns are coming along nicely on the defensive side of the ball. Sidney Brown played against his twin brother, but it was the other young safety. I know called corner, but I think he's a safety. Cooper DeJean, who made a big stop on 4th down. That started. Eagles again getting picks. The Isaiah Rodgers tips it. CJ picks it off. And then Zach Bond fosters the fumble. Picked up by Nakobe Dean. The Eagles defense back-to-back weeks now performing. That was last time it was like a shutout against a bad team. This time they went up against an elite quarterback in Joe Burrow. And they made plays on defense in the second half to limit the Bengals and the Eagles' best offensive display as well by a long shot. And Saquon Barkley as well went over 100 yards. Ooh, I am gassed. That was a really, really good win. Eagles need to continue that, though, by the way. They need to... I still there down here at number 8 because they need to continue this. Up next for the Eagles is the Jaguars next week on the Kelly Green game. At number 7... the division rivals, the Washington Commanders, and yes, they could have been off the list has it not been for that last-second Hail Mary tip job. Tyrique Stevenson, what a mug. I didn't even mention that. I didn't even realize it when I did my post-match reel for this game. He goes ahead, he taunts the Commanders fans, comes into the play, and then he sends the tip back to Noah Brown. Oh my God. And in the duel of number 1 and number 2 picks, Jaden Daniels with the rib injury comes in. He throws that Hail Mary, and this is going to be a highlight we'll remember in his career forever. And the Washington Commanders are number 7 on the list. They have moved up 1 spot from last week, but skipping over them. At number 6, moving up 3 spots, the Green Bay Packers. Back-to-back field goal wins, baby. Now, 30 points they put up on the road against the Jaguars. Essentially sending the Jaguars into tank mode for the season. Now, injury concerns, we did not mention it because I do not know what is going to happen with Jordan Love, but he left the game. Malik Willis led them, and what's scary about the Packers, well, the reason why I have them at number 6 is because regardless of who's at quarterback now, the Packers have just proved to be a really, really good team, and they are now number 6 on my power rankings. Now it's time for the top 5 power rankings. Anton, Hot Sports Power Rankings, let us go. At number 5, the Houston Texans. Now they beat their division rivals, the Indianapolis Colts. They have now moved up 2 spots back into the top 5. Now, there are concerns over Stephon Diggs. He's now out for the season. Is this a team that remains being the impressive team they've been? Because one of the big statement signings that they've turned people's heads to think that this could be a contender now was a Stephon Diggs. So now I want to see how they can cope with it. Also, the offensive line is not giving CJ Stroud enough time there. He is being roughed around back there, and they're not winning games by huge margins. They're squeaking by in some of these games. They are top 5 now, but they are unwatched for sure. And I want to see how the Texans go on for the rest of the season. At number 4, and they've been in and around this top 5, 4, 5, 6 the whole season, and they're starting to pick up even more with Russell Wilson, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they beat the New York Giants last night on Monday Night Football TJ Watt is a beast. He's a massive candidate now for Defensive Player of the Year. And mix that awesome defense. Is it the number one defense in the NFL? For me, I think they're the best defense in the NFL. I don't know what the stats say, but when I watch, I think they're the best defense in the NFL. Mix that with Russell Wilson, turning the clock back, man. Now 2 weeks coming off his injury, Russ has been cooking. You got Najee Harris, great game on the ground. The Steelers, man, under Mike Tomlin, I know no one expected this out of them this year, but they are here to stay. They have been one of the most consistent teams in the NFL now. We are at now almost halfway through the year, and they have been on the list every single week. There are only a couple teams in here that can say that. Wait. Let's see. Let's take a look. Only three teams on the list can make a claim to that this year. And look, the Steelers have been very, very consistent. And they are top 4. But they are not top 3, though. They are not top 3, though. At number 3, coming back in there, the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. I always love that every week. Every single week. I don't know what it is about the Buffalo Bills that makes me do that, but it's fun. They're back at number 3 after absolutely incinerating. That's a new word I've used. The Seattle Seahawks. Now, apparently, according, was it to Geno Smith? They couldn't hear the fans. They heard more Buffalo fans in Seattle, cross country. They went across from Buffalo, New York, Orchard Park. Bills fans showed up in Seattle. And they absolutely destroyed the Seahawks. The Seahawks, man. So they go ahead, they shocked the Falcons last week, and then come home, and they get absolutely pants. Now, I thought the Bills would win. I didn't think it'd be like this. But the Buffalo Bills then, after that 2-game slide earlier in the year, have rebounded strongly now. 2 really impressive back-to-back wins, just how you do it. And they are in the top 3 of the list. And at number 2, staying there from last week, the Detroit Lions. And they absolutely killed the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans that I feel like has tapped out on their season, not even halfway through the year. But that's not the Lions' problem. And another great game from Jahmyr Gibbs on the ground. I feel like Jahmyr Gibbs has been taking over the last few weeks, but Montgomery, Gibbs, both have had pretty decent seasons. They kind of take turns. I think the best 1-2 punch at running back in the NFL, hands down. And the Detroit Lions continue to just be super impressive now. They have laid down a marker. But the way they're playing, the question is, have they peaked too early in the season? By my humble opinion, I don't think so. I think if you take care of business against teams like this, you're playing well, your quality shows up. That is. I think it's something that can be built upon, man. It's teams that can do like this, 52 points at home against the Tennessee Titans, man. It's the expectations. The expectations to beat up teams like the Titans, and they've done that. And congratulations to the Lions. They are looking amazing. Aiden Hutchinson's out, but the Detroit Lions still hold their spot. It's not a little thing to say you held your spot in the top 2, because obviously you got a small margin for error. You lose one game when you're in the top 2, and as you can see, look, the Minnesota Vikings were 3rd last week. They're number 9. The Ravens were 4th. They're the number 10. So you see the small margins for error. So it's no small feat for the Lions to remain at number 2, and they absolutely deserve it. At number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, they've been the most consistent team in the NFL, 7-0. National Tight Ends Day, and that meant Travis Kelce had his best game of the season. 10 receptions for 90 yards on the National Tight Ends Day. And yeah, the Chiefs keep rolling. They went to Vegas, baby, and they took care of the division rivals, and they are 7-0. They remain the Super Bowl champions, top of the power rankings, and they're stacking up DeAndre Hopkins as well now as Josh Uche added to the Chiefs. So They are holding no punches, the Chiefs, and they remain number one on my power rankings. Shall we recap? At number one, the Kansas City Chiefs. At number two, the Detroit Lions. At number three, the Buffalo Bills. At number four, the Pittsburgh Steelers. At number five, the Houston Texans. At number six, the Green Bay Packers. At number seven, the Washington Commanders. At number eight, the Philadelphia Eagles. At number nine, the Minnesota Vikings. At number 10, on your program, surprisingly, right? The Baltimore Ravens. And that has been your top 10 list. Whew. Hope you guys have enjoyed this episode of the NFL show. Again, what are your thoughts on my list? What are your thoughts? I mean, am I being too harsh on the Ravens? Now, one thing I got to tell you, and you should know this by now if you've been watching every single week as a loyal viewer of the show, that I like to make an algorithm for my list here so that it keeps personal biases out of my own head. So that way that I'm giving you guys an indication, a truest indication, accurate indication of who have been the best teams in the NFL so far. And the list goes on. I put together my algorithms that I've spoken about many times, and it shoots out the list, and what comes out of it are what I believe is the most accurate representation of the NFL through 8 weeks of the NFL season. So, yeah. And so, man, some of these teams, and it's cool to see now. This is really the season taking shape. 10 teams that the top 10 stayed pat in terms of, in general, just, you know what I mean? No one came off the list, and that breeds consistency now. These are the teams now who have been the most consistent now for the NFL. And yeah, but thank you guys, everyone, as well, for watching. I'm always very humble for those who watch. Leave a comment down below. I will pledge to, if you leave a comment, to answer any comments that are made. Send to me in the comments section, guys. And yeah, that's it for the NFL show, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And until next time, Anton out.